Learn these 7 exploitable weaknesses to become like Yuuichi Katagiri. Cowardice. Many people have excessive amounts of fear as a weakness, which means that they are unable to take any risk and are unwilling to endure anything difficult. You can spot this type of weakness in a person by observing their behavior. Typically they will take the easy way out and be very anxious in everything they do. On a psychological level, you need to understand that they are always seeking comfort and don't want to experience anything painful. You can use this weakness against them by threatening them with bad consequences or exaggerating the danger of doing something. This will easily deter them from doing a specific action, since they have no boldness at all. Alternatively, you could also use this weakness to make your target more dependent on you. If you emphasize the danger of certain things, you can push your target into relying on you. Naturally, cowards find comfort in being obedient, since there is less danger and responsibility in this position, so they will be willing to rely and depend on you to take care of them. Overall, the main thing to remember is that the best way to control this type of person is using fear against them. Overconfidence. On the surface, a person who's very confident might appear to not have any weaknesses, but this is not the case, and you can easily take advantage of their overconfidence. Realize the fact that cocky and arrogant people tend to underestimate people. People with this overconfident mental state usually get complacent and will often let their guard down when they feel better than you. To take advantage of this weakness, you simply need to appear weaker than them. You can pretend to be ignorant, foolish, or perhaps you make it look like you're losing against them. This will push them into becoming complacent, and it works perfectly well against those who are prideful. In the case of Yuichi, he uses this against K by appearing weaker in front of him. Since K is a person who takes great pride in his intelligence, he easily underestimated his opponent and thought he had a guaranteed victory, so he never expected Yuichi to have a backup plan to win. Need for approval. This is a weakness where they feel the need to please others in order to receive praise and acceptance. It validates their own sense of self-worth and makes them feel good about themselves. Since they are so reliant on other people's perception of them, you can easily use this need for approval against them. You can do this by providing and removing approval at certain moments to control the person psychologically. For example, you could shame the individual in front of other people for not doing something. If you apply enough psychological pressure and disapproval, the person will inevitably comply with what you want, simply because they don't want to disappoint and hate being perceived negatively by other people. Alternatively, you can also give them praise and compliments in order to encourage them to continue doing a specific action. It's very effective for any person that cares about what other people think of them, and Yuichi specifically used this against Kuroki, applying enough pressure so that he had to play the game in order to avoid disappointing people. Hot-headed. Uncontrollable anger will always be a good weakness to exploit. Because people who are in an angry mental state can't think clearly, they will be hasty and end up taking rash actions that lead to their downfall. Often they will get angry when somebody has an opposing opinion or belief. Usually they will feel the need to correct them or argue with the other person, and they will also get easily irritated by insults or become enraged when something doesn't go their way. To exploit this weakness, you can intentionally make them angry by saying something or by doing a particular action that angers them. This can be as simple as mockery or mentioning a past event that triggers their anger. This will hinder their thinking ability and cause them to take foolish actions. With Yuichi, he knew that the blonde guy was hot-headed just by observing his reaction to the insults. This allowed Yuichi to manipulate him by using his anger. Since the target couldn't think clearly, he committed multiple actions that worked in Yuichi's favor. Self-righteousness. A strong sense of justice is not always a good thing, because this can lead a person to becoming highly judgmental and condemning many different people. This is what a self-righteous person does, and it also prevents them from seeing their own flaws because of the limited perspective they have. Understand that a person with this weakness will only see things as good or evil. There's no middle ground, and they essentially hate anything that goes against their apparent morals. There's a few ways to take advantage of their stubborn nature, and one way of doing this is to pretend to agree with what they're saying. When you validate their morals and opinions, you also stroke their ego. This makes them feel good about themselves, and they love it when you recognize that they are morally superior. This specifically will help with getting closer to your target and deceiving them on who you really are. Alternatively, you can also turn people against a self-righteous person. This is because many people hate it when somebody is a know-it-all and thinks that they are superior to everyone else. The hostile nature of a self-righteous person easily angers many different people, making it easier to create conflict. All you need to do is encourage and support your target in their hatred towards this self-righteous person. Lust. Many people are overwhelmed by their own sexual desires to the point where it severely clouds their judgment. It essentially puts them in a weaker position of power because they are more prone to being seduced and manipulated. You can notice a victim of lust by the way they respond to you or a specific person in particular. Pay attention to the unconscious responses that seem outside of their control. This could be mirroring gestures, blushing, neediness, unusual friendliness, or even jealousy. These are signs that show you that the individual is letting their intimate desires control them. There's a few ways to use this weakness against them. You can use their lustful desire to hinder their thinking abilities, or perhaps you use this desire as a reward for doing something. Basically, a person will be more willing to do more for you if they think their desire could potentially be fulfilled by you in the future. You could also use someone they're attracted to in order to manipulate them as well, which is what Yuuichi did to manipulate an opponent on the enemy team, using the girl to cause a distraction and also using her to manipulate the target into switching sides. Naivety. A person with this type of weakness will be very easy to exploit simply because they lack knowledge and experience in human psychology. You can notice this weakness when an individual has childlike behavior. This could be trusting people too easily, being easily deceived by appearances, or thinking that everyone has good intentions. You can use this in a variety of different ways, such as gaining their trust by pretending to be a friendly and good person, or perhaps you feed them false information and trick them into believing something. They won't question it due to their lack of critical thinking. Essentially, they are easy to use as a tool because of their extreme honesty and ignorant mindset. Thanks for watching VevenSeven.